but as a mentor still, it's my duty to pull your chain. Like, for instance, when I did Grumps TV, my TV show, my twice weekly TV show that I'm doing, it's like I thought I was going to do like 4 or 5 of them. You know what I mean? I really thought, like, by the end of March or beginning of April, I'd be back to everything else I was doing, and it would be just some like little blip, in my life. Well, I'm doing episode 40 this afternoon. And it doesn't look like it's going away, and I'm loving doing it. But you see, like, I'm not really recreating what we do live. Mm-hmm. I'm not just offering to my fans a free version of the red guitar, which I used to make them pay for. I'm being very careful, and or with my Instagram first course of the day, I'm trying to present new things that keep a community going, but don't replace what I'm really going to want to sell when we all hang out again. I want things that are like thinking more of in terms of community building and support structure versus just, okay, well, I'll just play for my friends because I don't have a gig, and everybody can watch me for free now. And then, like, so when this is all over, why are they going to just stop watching you for free on the internet? Just like Napster. I mean, is this a second Napster? See what happens with this. We don't need to let this happen.
I remember you saying you're going to need to present yourself on videos and do more. And here we are 15 years later, and we're still having this discussion. And I hope you know that we really listen to what you say and appreciate it, Bruce, because it's so valuable to continue to have this mentorship. It's part of our mission with the High Action podcast too, because we're having a lot of students check these podcasts out. And this is a chance for us to get off the timeline of the world around us a little bit and get on our own timeline and really document and interview all of our favorite guys like yourself, man. And it's just, you covered all the points today. There were so many questions all of us had, and you got to so many of them, man.
Wow. Well, cool. I really love that you're doing the podcast thing. I know that I've got one too with Scott Henderson and Troy McCubbin called Guitar Wank. Yeah. We, I think, have like 221 episodes. What's beautiful about this and why it's so important for you guys to be doing this is it's, again, creating community. It's the one thing I believe that supersedes all other endeavors we do. By creating community, we do enable at least we give ourselves a chance to adapt, to be there when it happens, because the community will support us. And even if it's not a good idea, we'll know because we'll get feedback and we can work it. The community, we need each other. Let's face it, obviously Perry in New York, you see how when you go to the clubs, how many of the cats are hanging. And even in LA, with the Blue Whale, you've got your jazz fans and then you've got your jazz musicians. And this community is so important. And right now, because we're separated, this is, I think, the real great thing about the internet is that it can enable us to stay together and even build our community bigger. Yes. So that when the next thing happens, we will be in better shape for it.
Exactly, 100%. Man. Guitar community is really an interesting community in of itself. We all share kind of this common thing, this instrument that we all love, but it's also, we're jazz musicians, so it goes beyond the guitar. It's the community of all the jazz artists too. So it's so cool to hear you talking about all these cats that you played with, man. And for all of our listeners, they can check out a lot of your stuff, obviously on all the streaming services and stuff. Where would you suggest people go check out some of your stuff, your website and everything?
Yeah, my website's a good place to kind of get an idea. Obviously, my YouTube channel has some stuff. It has Cowbop. It has gigs from before. Of course, if you just look around, I've been around so long, so much stuff out there. But, again, and one more, I'm just going to throw it back at you guys. It's like we're jazz musicians. This is the way it works. We get a tune, a set of changes, whatever, and we're supposed to improvise on it, right? And sometimes people throw shit at us that we ain't never seen before, and we don't know what to do with it. And it's up to our imagination to use our resources to improvise that thing that's going to work in that moment. I would like all of us to think of this time in history as basically a set of changes that are really fucking wild. And we got to figure out what to blow on this shit to make it work. And avoid the guys who are bitching and moaning. Because all they're doing is they're not doing the thing that needs to be done, which is find the sounds that work. They're like that guy on the bandstand who goes, I hate this song. He can't play it. He's not even fucking trying. It's just not a song he knows, so he's bitching about it. Stay away from those people. They're of no help anymore. This is some serious shit we're going through. We got a new set of changes. We got to be the ones that figure out how to play them, and we need to hang around the other people that are seriously doing that.
Yeah, agreed. Man. We turn to you, Bruce. We turn to you.
Yeah, man.
Dropping some serious knowledge here.
Seriously, man.
Can I just sort of ask you something on a different topic? It's one of my favorite stories that you tell. For some of the listeners that may not be aware, you're all over the movie soundtrack. You basically are the movie soundtrack of $1 Million Baby. And the way in which you got that call is one of my favorite stories that you tell about a very famous director contacting you. Can you just maybe indulge us and give us that
Sure.
story?
I mean, we've already kind of given away the punchline, so I'll make it quick. Basically, this guy needed to talk to me right away. He was super insistent, really a drag to my wife, and she was blocking the call because I had just gotten back from Europe the day before, and weirdly enough, like I'd gotten back in the afternoon, and then I got called to play a gig, like you're on the gig or something. I'm like, what gig? You know, I'm like jet lag. I just got home from San Francisco airport or whatever. And it was like Louis Bellson's 80th birthday party in Carmel. So I went in to play it. And I said, well, I'm available. Sure, I'll play it, you know, and it may help me get my jet lag thing together, you know. And this guy was at that party. So that's where he got the idea to use me for this movie. So he calls and he's giving my wife a hard time. He's got to talk to me. It's early in the morning and she wants me to sleep because she knows I'm jet lagged and I'm trying to reset my clock. But it's like a real fight on the phone. You know, she's just being a bitch to him, basically. And so I get up like, what the fuck was that? And she goes, oh, some guy, he's really got to talk to you, you know, kind of like me. He wouldn't tell me why. And so the name had Cornelius Wood. Right. She'd written the message, the name and the number. And so I call this guy up and I say, hello, Cornelius. And he goes, who? I said, Cornelius. And he goes, who? And I said, Cornelius Wood. And he goes, who is this? And I said, it's Bruce Forman. He goes, Bruce, this is Clint Eastwood. I said, oh, Clint, how are you? As soon as she heard me say that, she kind of like went white. You know what I mean? Because he's not used to being like treated like a normal person, you know, like he says like he wants to talk, people answer. And like, so I'm sure she really impressed him, you know. And he said, yeah, I got this project. I just don't have anything I like, you know, will you come in? And I said, I kind of said, sure. And I'm headed into town. And because I live out in Carmel Valley, which is sort of rustic from Carmel. It's about 10, 15 miles in the woods. And so I'm halfway there and I go, oh shit, man, you know, this is like kind of a movie thing, I think. You know, all I've got is my Ibanez, you know. What if it's about a bullfighter or, you know, or if it's a Western or something, you know? So I called a friend of mine who has a really good guitar collection. And I said, I'm coming in and I've got a studio thing and I don't know what I'm going to need. Can I borrow some guitars? She said, yeah. She told me where the key was hidden. I went to her house because she wasn't there. I went in and she said, for a classical, I'd take this one. For a dreadnought, I'd take this one. For a little triple O, you know, or double O Martin, I'd take this one. Yeah. So I had these guitars with me. And then I got in the studio and Clint is going like, well, it's kind of a tragedy. It's about a female boxer, but I really want like a Missouri back porch searching sound. That's all he said. So of course that meant like a dreadnought steel string. Yeah. And then he played a theme on the piano, kind of like, you know, and I transcribed it. Then I went over the piano and played it for him. I said, do you hear it major or minor? You know, and I played it kind of both ways. And he offered to let me actually do it on piano too, but I chose not to. And he wanted it the major way, you know, mostly. And so I just sat down and like improvised for about an hour on this theme. And he took it and cut it up and it became like, well more than half the music of that movie. But I mean, you know, and then, again, that's back to jazz. You know, it's what we do, man. People hand you something and you make something. I mean,
you told me something 20 years ago that really stuck in my imagination. And it was, you were talking about your improvising and you said, I like to live on the extremes. And I think what you meant by that was you're down to play slow. You're down to play a real slow swinging tempo where the beat is wide and there's a lot going through. And you're also down to play on the edge, playing super fast, tempos above, 350 or something like that. Can you talk a little bit about, I know we want to be respectful of your time, but can you just share a little bit about kind of developing a whole picture as an improviser and being able to live on either extreme and in the middle and all that? Because that's such a life's work as an improviser.
Yeah, well, playing fast. I've always loved playing fast. I've always loved listening to fast music. Bird playing fast, Sonny Rollins, those Sonny Rollins records, Be Quick and all that stuff. I mean, that was like, God, to me, and, of course, at Keystone Corner, that was when tempos were a big thing, to what we'd play. So I did it a lot. There's a lot of crashing and burning going on, you know what I mean, in the learning phases of that. But by doing it at I played with John Clayton one day, and we're playing Cherokee Duo, and it's really fast. And he's kind of, he's bearing down, and I'm just smiling and laughing and having a great time, and he's playing quarter notes and I'm playing eighth notes. Yeah. And he looked at me and he kind of stopped and he says, "You played fast a lot when you were really young, didn't you?" I mean, he just looked at it and I said, "Yeah." Vince Ladiano in particular, that drummer, we would get together and all afternoon just play tempos. Crash and burn, playing tempos, and this is a long answer, but I learned something really big, and, I didn't realize I was doing it till somebody pointed out. The way I got the Monterey Jazz Festival All-Star gig was there was this summit one year. Mundell Lowe was the music director of the festival, so it was Mundell Lowe, John Collins, Eddie Duran, Ron Eshtay, and me. This was Ronnie and I were the young guys, and it was a thing where we all played together, a couple of tunes, trading solos and all that stuff. And then we all got a feature. It was on the main stage. And the rhythm section, house rhythm section then was Hank Jones, Andy Simpkins, and Shelly Manne. I decided, because they were all kind of playing some pretty conservative choices of songs and tempos. Mm-hmm. So I decided to do Oleo at like stupid fast. And in the rehearsal, so I started playing, and we're all playing, and Shelly's playing, Hank and Andy, and we're going along and we're having a ball, I'm just having a ball. And about the middle of my second chorus, and by now we know we're cool. It's just like we were just playing, you know what I mean? And Shelly stops, and I figure, okay, that's that for the rehearsal. I wanted to keep going because it just felt so good. Shelly looked over at Andy Simpkins, the bass player, and he said, "Andy, don't work so hard," because Andy was doing the thing like this. And Shelly said, I swear to God, he says, listen to Bruce. He's feeling this in 2. He's not feeling this in 4. He's playing in 4, but he's feeling it in 2. And that's what I'm doing, playing 4, but feeling 2, breathe. Right. And then he made me play unaccompanied for a chorus. So check it out, Bruce. Just play a chorus. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm like playing. He says, "You hear that? There's that half note in there. It's going to swing anyway." I mean, Shelly's giving this whole recitation on how to play fast, and he's telling me how I'm thinking about it, and I didn't even know that's how. And that would be my, if you're going to work on playing fast, if it's a tempo that's out of your comfort zone, put the metronome in 2. Put it on 1 and 3. Make it easy for yourself. Because, if you start going 1, 2, 3, 4, it's just like your whole body starts to get tense if it's a tempo that's uncomfortable. Whereas if it's super fast, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, you can all of a sudden hear all these subdivisions, da da ba da 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 da. And it's like you're no tension in your body, you're breathing, and it's going to swing at that speed because it's just moving so fast anyway. The whole idea of the metronome is to learn and to make it easier for yourself, not to, win some, I put it on the 3rd triplet. Fuck that, man. How about just playing some good fucking music? You know what I mean?
This idea of being able to try things and crashing and burning, this reminds me a lot of some of the stuff that we've done early in New West. I mean, John, you and I we used to go for tempos like crazy on tunes like Rivercrest and Crooked Railroad, and we would just be like, okay, you got the accompaniment, I got the lead, vice versa. Let's just see what we can do with this.
Right.